care about your belief system of a higher power or not, I want you to know it's not random and you're beautifully made, which means that you were given everything you need to be able to make the impact on the world you were created to make. And when you own that premise, when you accept that responsibility and maybe a better word, that opportunity, it takes a lot of pressure off your back. What you are not responsible for is outcomes. That is not your job. We put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve, whether it's a certain dollar amount or success at a certain job or even in a marriage or whatever the case may be. We feel like results-based rather than effort-based. So I want to help you switch that mindset today and know your job is only to look in front of you to see the opportunities that are put before you. And if you put effort into those opportunities, whether the results of those are what you think they should be or what you want them to be, I guarantee you they're perfect, those results, because you put the energy into it.
G'day, Dr. Tony here with another great episode of Realms of Power. And today I've got the amazing Bharon Hoag from the Chiropractic Defense Council in the United States. Bharon, welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, Dr. Rudd, thank you so much for the opportunity. Looking forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, mate, it's amazing to have you here. And I just off air, we were talking about you've just been to a huge chiropractic conference over in the States, the Parker seminars. How many docs are at that conference?
Yeah, just under 5,000. It's there are two really major events in the United States that happen. One is in the early spring, which is the Parker Vegas event, and we have another one in late fall in Orlando called FCA National, and they both have right around 5,000 chiros and a few hundred vendors, and yeah, it's a lot of energy there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, for the listeners that might not have met you or heard of you before, can you just give us some background of how you got into the chiropractic profession, because you're not a chiropractor yourself, and what's your vision or role for the chiropractic profession?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am not a chiropractor, as you stated. I'm celebrating my 33rd year in the profession. I've self-dubbed myself the profession's biggest groupie that it's ever had. And, I've done just about every possible role you can do in this profession other than to adjust. And I've owned clinics. I've served as team members in clinics. I have consulted. I have run nonprofit organizations, served on national organizations, traveled the world on behalf of chiropractic, advocating and defending it. So I'm just someone that is a problem solver, and if I see a need, I try to develop a solution to be able to, accomplish the outcome that I think needs to happen. Very blessed. My daughter is a chiropractor. She's been out for 2.5 years, and my son is currently in chiropractic school and will graduate in a year. So I have the absolute blessing of being able to love and serve alongside of my children in a profession that all three of us love absolutely to the end of the earth. So we're very blessed, and I'm the kind of guy that I love a good fight, and I love to go out there and challenge the status quo to really move things to another level. And so my path in chiropractic has really led me to the ability to speak about it in a way that people can comprehend and understand. I've had privileges of talking to presidents and prime ministers and leaders of different nations, all the way down to, I just did a class for 6-year-olds and, just explaining to them, because we had a patient in our clinic. I do own a clinic as well in Columbus, Ohio, here in the United States, and my daughter works in it. But, so we had a patient that asked us to come to their preschool and just talk about chiropractic and how it relates to animals and humans. And so, yeah, it's I just love telling the story of chiropractic. Let's just put it this way. I'm not the guy you want to sit next to on a plane ride, because you will be scheduled for an adjustment when we land. I mean, it's just a guaranteed thing. I live and breathe this profession, and I love it. And to the last part of your question, my mission is to make chiropractic the #1 healthcare choice in the world. Because I think if the world truly understood what the adjustment does, it would be their choice 10 times out of 10 to have it as part of their healthcare regime, because they want to ensure that the later stages of their life, they're in control, they're living their best life. When hopefully they have financial security, they have more time, their health will be right there with them so that they can live as vibrantly as they want to live. And chiropractic can do that. And so my mission is to try to make sure we remove barriers associated to creating access to it, and then ensure that we're educating the world so they understand the power of the adjustment, so they choose it for their own healthcare regime.
Look, I'm a chiropractor, been in practice for 25 years. And when I hear you speak, I get lit up. It's just so exciting when you can light someone up about chiropractic and you're not even, a qualified chiropractor. That really speaks for something deep underneath. What's the deep underneath, Baron, for you that's lit you up about chiropractic?
Yeah, it's a great question because I wasn't a patient. I wasn't somebody that chiropractic saved my life or saved the life of any one of my patients, which is a large percentage of people that find chiropractic. It's because of a story like that or chose to be a part of the profession is because somehow chiropractic touched their life. For me, it was an intellectual thing. I decided to procreate instead of graduate and undergrad. And so I had to get a job because I had a child on the way. And I happened to take a job at a chiropractor's office, knew nothing about chiropractic, had never been to one. No one in my family had ever been to one. It was just a job that met the hours that I needed in order to go back to school. And I just kept seeing these patients talking like our chiropractor was a god or something. And I'm like, what is going on? I'd never seen an adjustment. I literally, it was, if I'm being truthful, for those that are in my age demographic, the moves I was seeing in our clinic, I saw on like Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and it was not to restore life. It was definitely the opposite. And so I'm like, how can something that looked relatively simple or trivial translate into these people willing to give their time, money, and accolades to our doctor? And so I just went on a journey to understand it. Like, why does the adjustment work? Why does a young couple that is trying to get pregnant, they can't get pregnant? They've tried in vitro, they tried everything. They come into our office, they get adjusted once or twice, and all of a sudden they're able to get pregnant. Well, why do we have these people? We live close to Ohio State University, and there we had patients that were, pretty much lab rats in the university hospital system. And then they come to our office for one or two visits and literally their life would be restored. And I'm like, what is going on? That all this time, money, and energy in the allopathic model was getting them nowhere. A couple visits in a small office in a small town is all of a sudden giving them their life back. And as I dug deeper to understanding the neurology and the physiology of what's going on with the adjustment, if I'm being honest, the more pissed off I got that I didn't know. Why did nobody tell me this? Well, I was a football player and had a scholarship to play in college, blew my knee out and wasn't able to fulfill that dream. And I'm like, well, what if? What if someone would have told me about chiropractic? Could my body have better adapted to the stress of playing? And could I maybe have achieved the goals that I had in sports? And so I just decided at that moment, this was in the mid 90s, I'm going to tell the world about this because I don't ever want anyone else to miss what I've just learned about the power of the body. And I was very blessed. My daughter was 3 at that time. But when my son was born, he got adjusted at 2 hours old. He's been adjusted at least once a week his entire life. He is a 2-sport college athlete, never had a broken bone, never had an antibiotic in his system, never had a vaccine. And the dude's just the picture of health. And so I can see firsthand what getting adjusted has done for him. And that's why I'm so filled with this, because on the flip side, I see so many people that were never told and they're dying of some neurodevelopmental disease, MS, Alzheimer's, dementia, things of that nature. They're being mismanaged in the allopathic world, not because allopathic medicine is evil, but allopathic medicine is lacking the understanding of how the body truly functions. Therefore, they're shooting in the dark and they're doing their best that they can do with the tools they have in their tool chest. But people need to know how the body was designed, how it was created to operate. And there's nobody better on the planet at understanding that than chiropractors. So that's my motivation for doing what I do.
Yeah, I love that. And, for me, I've been doing in my own clinic, even just little workshops, and people just don't understand that basic thing. And in Australia, it is probably different than in the States to a degree, but you've sort of touched on countries all around the world now. Like you said, you're not just trying to make it better in the States. I know you're involved in Australia and other places around the world. But yeah, there's that pissed off energy that people don't even know. Like if they knew and decided not to come, great. But if they don't know, like that's really the responsibility of our profession in a way, and people like yourself, myself, to try and get that message out there. And I find one of the big challenges here in Australia as well, anyway, is through the education model that we're not getting taught that, and then we're not having the confidence or ability to explain that message to the clients. What would you say is one of the biggest problems that messaging happens in chiropractic?
So I don't know if this is how you meant it, but I'm gonna take it in two different directions. Number one, why is it that we don't see the message carrying further is one aspect, and the other aspect is why is it that the general public doesn't understand it even when they do hear it?
Yeah.
The first reason why we don't speak it is our profession really has been under attack since its inception. And we were started in 1895 in a small town in the United States called Davenport, Iowa. And it was created out of a magnetic healer that just had somebody in his office building that had a fall and lost his hearing, and he started kind of feeling what we call palpating, but feeling around the spine. He felt a bump and put some pressure on the bump, and the hearing came back. And all of a sudden, it created this thought process like, well, wait a minute, if that restored the hearing, if I do this on other people, what else might we restore? And obviously, that's a very minuscule version of our history as a profession, but that's kind of where it started. But our premise has always been non-drug, non-surgery. Like your body has the ability to self-regulate and self-heal. There's an innateness to it. There's a design in your body that it's hardwired to heal itself. The problem is we have so many things that interfere with that. Back in the old days, it was called thoughts, toxins, and traumas, the three T's. Those are forms of stress that interfere with your brain's ability to communicate with your body. And so we believe rather than using drugs or surgery or any external type of an intervention, we want to remove those interferences and we want to allow the body to self-heal and self-regulate before we do anything external. Well, part of the reason it's very hard to tell that story in today's allopathic world is it goes against almost everything that the allopathic system has brainwashed society to believe. So it makes it hard for chiropractors to stand strong and stand up and proclaim this truth when they're going to get beat down by every other form of healthcare specialist in their community. They're going to have patients that are going to tell them that's not true. When people find out that my son was not vaccinated, I'm telling you, I get ridiculed. I mean, I get how dare I and how horrible that is for the world and how dangerous it is for everyone else. And I have to just sit and take it and wait for them to be done. And then I explain to them that actually it's the other way around. My son's the one in danger if your theory is true, not yours, because yours was vaccinated. So why are you worried if you believe in the vaccine, right? So we go through all of these things, but it's hard. You have to be willing to be confronting in that. So that's why I think chiropractors don't speak it as strongly as they could. And honestly, you guys are handcuffed in Australia. Australia, Canada, a lot of these other countries are very handcuffed in what your regulatory bodies will allow you to say. Because if they don't agree with it, you could lose your license or be fined significantly for saying things that other people don't agree or believe. And the majority of the things chiropractors say, the average person isn't going to believe on face value because they have never had the foundational knowledge to understand. For example, that when, let's use carpal tunnel, that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. 90% of the time, it has nothing to do with the carpal canal. It has nothing to do with your wrist. It's coming from your neck. But if we say that, then the whole world is like, you're crazy because you have just decades of people being told that it's called carpal tunnel because of the carpal canal. And therefore, that's where the problem is. But chiropractic doesn't look at the symptom. It looks at the cause. Allopathic medicine is not trained to look at the cause. Its job is to remove the symptom, whether that's surgery, pain, cutting, whatever. And the world has come to expect that. They want that instant gratification. They want that pill they can take and swallow, and tomorrow the situation will be over. Where our approach is, wait a minute, don't take that medication because you're going to lie to your brain, and now your brain's not going to have truthful information. When we do good things to help you, your brain's not going to process it the right way. So you're not going to get the full effect of what's happening. And so it's just so contrary to standard understanding of healthcare. It scares a lot of chiros, or they're regulated not to do it. So I think that's why this message has not saturated to the level that it should. I think this is also why some patients, or people in the general public swear by their chiropractor. Their chiropractors are their primary care providers. They listen to them wholly. Or you have a percentage of the population that think all we do is make neck bones rub against each other and cause injuries, because they don't like the popping sound. They don't understand that it's not bones rubbing together. All it is a gas pocket expressing itself. But people just don't take the time to learn and understand. And with all due respect, our profession as a whole does not do a great job of explaining it well and concisely either. So you take those two things, and I think that's why the world is pretty confused about what it is chiropractic does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for most people, though, when you sit and just if they can remove their perception of what they think health is, and you just ask them, would you like your nerves connecting to all your organs? Yes or no? Like everyone would want that. Like I don't know anyone that would not want their nervous system to work well. And then when you go, well, all of the stresses, the toxins, the injuries you said before might be putting some pressure or irritation on the spine, and you might not feel that because your body's compensating. And would you rather remove that interference or not? Most people go, yeah, well, I don't want any interference there. So I think a normal logical conversation, like you said, intellectually, even without the results, most people with that conversation would go, geez, that makes sense. So if I'm having that conversation on the plane or in a workshop I'm running, most people go, oh my God, they get a bit pissed off. Why hasn't anyone told me? So yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. If we looked at one of the other problems then is with and I'll just talk about, I guess, Australia, the education systems of chiropractors now. What do you think is one of the biggest concerns with the trajectory of new graduates coming into our profession with what they're getting taught?
Yeah, especially in Australia. Like United States, we're very lucky. It's where the profession was founded. Most of our chiropractic schools are independent schools that are there just to teach chiropractic. So the principles, the education process are all built around the main principles of chiropractic. In other countries, that's not the case. A lot of times, chiropractic schools are built within state schools, schools that they've already been established and been long established for a while, and then they just add the chiropractic curriculum to maybe some of their other science-based curriculums, which is dangerous because when you do that, it's being taught by people that don't understand chiropractic. They're taking general concepts, and here's a perfect example. I call it the specific chiropractic adjustment, but if you go to other people in other healthcares, they call it a mobilization manipulation. Well, it's not a mobilization manipulation by any stretch of the definition, because you have to understand what a mobilization is: just putting motion in the joint. That is not what an adjustment does. A proper delivered adjustment is very specific. It's looking at the line of drive. And the real purpose of the adjustment is to put sensory input into the brain. Yes, there's a mechanical and a structural component to it, but the real value is coming from moving that area the right way, giving correct, proper motion to the joint so that it puts information to the brain. So if I'm just trying to create motion, mobilize, or manipulate a segment, I'm not going to have that same neurological effect that you have with the majority of the chiropractic techniques. And so that's where, our schools are so important, that they're being taught from the tenets of what our profession was created on, so that those students, when they leave school and they're delivering the adjustment, I'm telling you right now, and I don't want to say the name of a school because I don't want anyone, hating you or hating me because I picked on a particular school, but it's the majority of them in Australia. But if you go to someone that went to one of the state sponsored schools versus someone that went to ACC, the Australian Chiropractic College, the same curriculum, but you put them side by side delivering adjustments at the end of it, the ACC student's going to get a better result in most cases than someone that just went through the schooling and has had no other training outside of the schooling. Not because ACC is better, but because ACC is teaching the tenets of chiropractic. So the delivery of that adjustment is going to be more in tune with how the body was designed to operate, versus looking at the body as just a mechanical machine that we're wrenching and, moving things to put them back where they were supposed to be. And that's why our schooling is so important, where people go to school and that they're going someplace, they're going to get that background, that understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, and have that intent put into it when you're delivering it. Because as you know, you and I have talked offline before, but you're such a believer on intent and putting energy into things and having that. And I'm telling you, half of the healing that happens through a chiropractic adjustment is just the provider having that heart and that intent to put that energy into their patient. And that's what's so important about going to a school that has the core belief system of how chiropractic was founded, to be able to put that on top of the tools and the adjusting techniques and all the other things you're going to learn through that process. So I'm excited to say, though, in Australia that ACC is expanding. They've created another campus. So there's 2 campuses now throughout Australia. And I know the goal is to open 3 or 4 more. In other parts of the world, we're having Canada is another country that unfortunately does not have any independent real school that's not tied to some other state program. And I know the New Zealand School of Chiropractic is opening a campus in Canada this year. And so I'm very happy to start seeing a bit of an expansion of those really core-based schools expanding, making more options for people to choose to go to schools where they're going to get that real deep curriculum.
I remember back in my school when I went 25 years ago, which was one of those, if you call it, state-sponsored schools, we had some brilliant philosophy lecturers, which that's what just got my heart into it. And then once I graduated, I then went out and did retreats and learned off, I got immersed in the philosophy of chiropractic. And that's what, as I've said to you before, what I'm trying to run now is little retreats where new grads or experienced chiropractors, even that are stuck in their loops, can come along and just get that connection and understanding of the real heart of chiropractic. Because I think when we stand in our power, that's when we're able to deliver that message. I could say the same thing, like as I said, but without that heart, without that desire to light up people, it just doesn't come across the same. So what would you say is a great path for a new grad who's come out of one of those schools, or someone that's struggling in their profession? What would you say is a great path for them to really stand into their power?
Yeah, specifically to Australia, there's a group that goes around. They're called Syntropy, and I know they come a couple times a year. Highly recommend you go to one of their events. They are so good at helping you understand the true power of the adjustment. And they're not necessarily going to teach you new techniques or undo anything you learned in your schooling, but they're going to give meaning behind it that I almost assuredly you did not get in school. Not because your professors didn't give it to you, but because your mindset wasn't ready to hear it. You are drinking from a fire hose, right? You're only going to retain a certain percentage of what you're learning while you're going through your schooling. So it's really important when you get out and you're finally done breathing through a fire hose that you start putting yourself in environments that are going to help ferment those core tenets and values. Like I said, my son graduates in a year. He's been to 7 Syntropy events already, and he's not even graduated yet, because I wanted him to have such a firm foundation on adjusting and knowing why he's adjusting and having confidence that he would be willing to touch anyone, whether it's the president of the United States or the biggest soccer player in the world, or football player for other countries. I know us Americans like to bastardize things, but I want him to have that confidence because he knows what he's doing and he understands the tenets behind what's happening. So number one, in Australia, find a Syntropy event, go and really fall in love with the adjustment itself. Number two, find a tribe. You did it in school. There's not a single chiropractor that made it through chiropractic school without a tribe. I don't believe it. You may have had a tribe of 2, but you had a tribe. Both of my kids, as they've gone through, have had a tribe of about 7 to 9 individuals that were just their ride or die. They study partners, the people that they blew off steam and probably drank a couple of adult beverages with, and just they got through the trauma bond of going through, advanced education training. And you need to have that tribe out of school as well. It's very easy to graduate and say, okay, now I'm in business, and then isolate yourself and just be there because, one, you're ashamed because maybe you had these dreams in school, and you get out and you realize practice is a lot harder than you thought it would be in school. And so that shame causes you to go inwardly, and you don't want to tell anyone. And no, don't do that. Everyone's been there. Everyone has suffered. Everyone's had the month where they were digging to find collections for payroll. Don't isolate yourself. Find a tribe. Be vulnerable. Allow yourself, whether it's people in your community, whether it's alumni from your school, whether it's a consulting group that you got connected with, whatever. Find a tribe of other people that you can learn from. In that tribe, it'd be awesome if you can find a couple mentors. Find businesses that you look at and you're like, that's what I want to have someday. And learn. Sit and listen. I guarantee you, if you're respectful, anybody that has achieved success would absolutely love to share the steps it took them and to share the mistakes they made to help you not make the mistakes, and even probably help you elevate faster because they want to see you succeed. We have a reputation in chiropractic of eating our young, but I don't think we really want to. I think it's because there's not a good set of communication between the parties to understand what the relationship's about. So if you go with a servant's heart and a submissiveness and say, hey, you just have what I want someday. I don't want to steal anything from you. I want to learn. Is there any way we can get coffee once or twice a month and we can just talk and I can share with you where I'm hitting a wall and you can, and I'm even happy to compensate you for your time if that's necessary. But I just want to learn. If you went in with that spirit, everybody's going to be willing to help you. So find a tribe. Make sure in that tribe you get a mentor. And then third and most important, in my opinion, when you're a new grad, dream. Your practice is not supposed to look like anybody else's because you don't look like anybody else. Believe and dream about what you want. I had this conversation with my daughter when she came out. She's 5'1" and 100 pounds. I know it's hard to believe she came from me, but she's a tiny little thing, and she loves her pregnant mamas, her babies, and she adjusts animals. And that's it. That's what she loves to do. And at first, the world was telling her, no, you can't do that. You can't start a practice being that specialized. And I said, don't you dare. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just be loud and you let the world know. You speak out into existence the kind of practice you want. And I've watched her build her practice in 2 years where she has the types of patients that she wants. And she's making a living doing it. So when you go out, people are going to tell you the things you have to do to be successful. But what happens a lot of times is when you follow those advices, you start hating practice. You don't really like the work that you're doing. You're spinning wheels or it's not rewarding. And then you just get disgruntled and then it's just not fun. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to keep that zeal that you have right now of coming out of school and wanting to go out and bust the doors down. But learn the power of the adjustment through Syntropy. Find a tribe that you can stay connected with regularly. Get a mentor and then dream and build your practice right from the start. And things will go a lot easier for you.
Oh, mate, I absolutely love that. I resonate with almost everything you said there. Well, everything you said. And that's why we're running this retreat. Like we feel that the mentors we've got in this retreat are looking to help mentor. They've had the runs on the board and the experience. And then I asked them a question, what do you think is one of the best things about coming to this retreat? And they said, look, chiropractic practices, they're often isolated. They are alone. And to get that connection, what are you guys doing? Having that tribe, having that connection, I think is so important because for our profession to become more coherent, we need that connection. It's not us, against us, which it often is in chiropractic. It should be, us building the coherence and alignment, if I can use that word, to get that message out there, because we could be the number one health profession in the world. The body heals itself. When you're in alignment, you're just better. And, that's a pretty simple message. It's unfortunate it's been so screwed up. And I love the dream as well. Dream, you've got to have your own unique practice too. That's absolutely amazing. So, oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Well, what I'd like to do as well is just talk about your organization, because what you have done with your organization is stand up for the rights of chiropractors. Now, for people listening to the Realms of Power podcast, this is a chiropractic specific one today, but this could apply to other professions, other industries. Every industry, every profession has their own challenge, but I guess we're keeping it in chiropractic today. So can you tell me about what your vision is for Chiropractic Defense Council and how you've been able to achieve that and where you would like to take it as well?
Yeah, so I started my organization. The nonprofit I have is called One Chiropractic. That's the organization. The Chiropractic Defense Council is one of our initiatives, and that initiative was created as we looked at the landscape of chiropractic around the world. I could pick by country very specific battles that were happening that no one really was orchestrating, well. You had just pockets of individuals that were standing up and fighting against it, and they were getting picked off one by one. When an individual chiropractor stands up, it's very easy to take them down. But when you have a large organization that there's no head to the snake, it's just a massive ball that's rolling, it's very difficult to stop it. And so that was the idea behind the Chiropractic Defense Council. We wanted to defend the rights of practicing chiropractors around the world. Just to give the listeners some examples of what we're talking about, at the time that I created that initiative in 2001, we knew that the pandemic was going to hit a very fever pitch with vaccines. Now, remember, COVID hit in 2020, right around March of 2020. As we went through all of 2020, we had our shutdowns. Nobody knows that better than Australia. You guys around the world had the longest shutdown. I think it was 165 days. You guys were shut down, which is just insane that society couldn't function for that long in Australia. But then as the vaccine started getting more rapidly produced, the allopathic machine started mandating that people had to have the vaccine. And so our organization believes in choice. We believe that, you should not be forced to do anything, especially putting chemicals that have not properly been, researched into your body. And so we started immediately going out and defending the rights of chiropractors with their ability to continue to practice without being vaccinated. And in Australia, that was a massive battle. They were shutting your clinics down. They were chaining the doors shut. We literally had our attorneys out there, breaking back into practices, helping doctors know how to deal with the government as it was coming down. And we're very proud to say we kept everybody practicing during those days. But that was kind of we're going to be that group that goes out and defends people no matter where we are in the world. And we had similar issues in Canada. There were over-regulation in certain parts of that country. We were fighting for the rights of chiropractors to maintain their ability to x-ray, which is a really big component of a lot of practices in chiropractic. And then in Australia, after the pandemic, we had issues with pediatric. The government just out of nowhere decided that chiropractors should not adjust children 2 and under with a typical adjustment. And there was no reason for it. There was no complaint. There was no injuries that were received. There was nothing. It was just someone decided that shouldn't happen. So we're working with other regulatory groups inside of Australia to ensure that chiropractors get that right back, and the general public is not lied to about some false danger associated to your newborns seeing a chiropractor and being treated. And so
can I just ask there, can I just interrupt? In other countries in the world, for instance, in America, in other countries, do they have any similar restrictions for pediatrics? So no other country that adjusts around the world has that restriction. So right there, that tells me that just is some bureaucratic something else.
It's a political thing. It started in Australia because of social media. A chiropractor posted a video of treating a child and, holding the child up, which is something chiropractors will do. They'll grab the feet and they'll watch how the newborn with gravity, how they'll contort their body. That tells us a lot about how the brain is perceiving information from the body. So if they do that and their head cocks to one side or the other, we know that they're locked up in that area. But to someone that's very ignorant, it looks barbaric. It's like, why is this doctor holding a child up by his feet? And so it got a lot of negative social media presence, and that got into the hands of a lot of pediatricians and the medical machine. And so it all came out of political pressure from other specialties that are very ignorant to chiropractic. We're not doing a full rotary break on a baby. We're not doing this like we do to adults on children, right? The pressure is less than, putting a thimble in a cork board. So, but people don't know that. And so fear is a very powerful thing. And that's where it all perpetuated from. But to your point, no, there's nowhere else in the world that there is any type of restriction on chiropractors treating children. There's not evidence anywhere in Australia from the inception of chiropractic in Australia of a single child being harmed by a chiropractic adjustment. Not one. There's not a complaint from a parent from not one case in Australia, but yet this policy still exists. So those are the things that my organization says that is not just, that's not right, but we can't have individual chiropractors standing up to fight that, because you will be a target. They will ruin your life. They'll shut your practice down. They'll disparage your name and say that you're a baby killer and all these things. And so that's why we developed what we developed, so that people could kind of hide behind our veil. They could stay connected with us. They could let us know about these issues, but they're not the ones that have to stand on the street corner, flagging their license in front of people saying, I don't like what you're doing, and then become a target. So we are committed to making sure chiropractors have the ability to practice appropriately within the scope of their country, state, province, wherever, whatever it's called in that particular country. So we have over 49 attorneys on retainer worldwide. PR firms and researchers and content experts, all these people are part of our team. And then wherever we see an issue, we deploy our team to be able to go and defend the rights of practicing chiropractors. So our mission really, as an organization, we have 4 main initiatives that we have in our organization. And all of them are based on the tenets of advocating and defending for chiropractic. We want chiropractic to grow. One of our other initiatives is called Health Missions, and we go to parts of the world where chiropractic's not developed at all. There is no regulation of it because they don't know what it is. But those countries are very dangerous because you have lay people calling themselves chiropractors because of the internet. And all of a sudden they're out there inappropriately treating people under the name of chiropractic. So we go to those countries and we try to work with the governments to establish appropriate regulatory guidelines to protect the public, but also start establishing more chiropractic schools, establishing good chiropractors to come into those countries and start building a nucleus and building outward. Because you and I both know, Dr. Rudd, that every human being on the planet needs to be adjusted. They at least need the opportunity to be adjusted, whether they choose to or not. But there's not a living, breathing organism on this planet that has a brain and a spine that would not benefit from an adjustment. But there's only 172,000 chiropractors worldwide. I mean, that's it. And we have, in my town of Columbus, Ohio, I have more MDs than that in my town. So we really need more people going to chiropractic school, understanding this power and taking it to parts of the world that it currently doesn't exist. So that's part of our initiative as well through our organization.
So for chiropractors or even non-chiropractors for that matter that are just lit up by your vision, how could they support you or sponsor you in a way to improve that ability to defend chiropractic and to expand chiropractic's reach out into the world?
Yeah. Go to our website. It's www.onechiropractic.org. So onechiropractic.org. You can learn more about our initiatives, the things that we're doing. Our ask that we do, for those that may not know, 33 principles are kind of like some of the tenets of chiropractic when it was created back in the 1800s and early 1900s. And so we just ask people to help contribute $33 a month. So it's a nominal ask. I mean, you can definitely give more than that if someone's really on fire, and I've done a great job of getting you excited. We never have enough money to do the work that we need to do, if you can imagine the scope of what we're trying to accomplish. But our ask is 33. Our goal is to get 10,000 individuals giving us $33 a month. That literally will fund us. We could take on big pharma. We could take on governments. We already are in multiple arenas, but that would really take away the no when someone brings a valid issue. Right now, we've rejected over 80 cases this year because we just couldn't afford to take them on. We had to prioritize ones that were more important and had a bigger impact on the profession because we just didn't have the budget to take everything on. And as people get to know us better, they come to us because they now understand what we do. But I have to be selective to ensure that we never pick a battle we can't carry out to fruition. So, our goal is, like you said, 10,000 individuals worldwide. It's a relatively small number if you look at the nucleus of what we're working with. But yeah, that's our mission. So if you really did find interest, go to our website, www.onechiropractic.org. You'll find information there. There's a contribute now button up top, and it'll give you options of giving. But our ask is $33 a month.
Oh, mate, I absolutely love that. And I think chiropractors listening to this, different chiropractors, as you know, also have different philosophies. But if you just believe in chiropractic as a profession, I really feel that you should be out there supporting Bharon and the work he's doing worldwide to take on, the defense of chiropractic and to expand that into the community. Mate, I probably should wrap up this episode, but would you like to share any final just wisdom you have for the listeners of this program of how they can turn their power on and really just, live their best life?
Yeah, I'd love to. And this doesn't matter what trade, what gender, what nationality, whoever you are listening to this applies to you. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. I don't care about your belief system of a higher power or not. I want you to know it's not random, and you're beautifully made, which means that you were given everything you need to be able to make the impact on the world you were created to make. And when you own that premise, when you accept that responsibility and maybe a better word, that opportunity, it takes a lot of pressure off your back. What you are not responsible for is outcomes. That is not your job. We put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve, whether it's a certain dollar amount or success at a certain job or even in a marriage or whatever the case may be. We feel like results based rather than effort based. So I want to help you switch that mindset today and know your job is only to look in front of you to see the opportunities that are put before you. And if you put effort into those opportunities, whether the results of those are what you think they should be or what you want them to be, I guarantee you they're perfect, those results, because you put the energy into it. So stop living in fear of not achieving and start living in faith and just putting effort into opportunities one step at a time, and watch the joy return in your life no matter what happens around you. I've had some of the biggest failures of my life, but found more joy in that failure than I ever did in other successes because I knew I put everything into it, but it just wasn't my day. And so I wasn't going to be defined by that failure. That failure led to an even bigger success because I found joy in it because I knew that I had done everything I could, but it just wasn't right for me. Whether that was picking up a girl at a bar, whether that was not getting hired for a job I wanted, whether that was starting a business and it failing. But I knew that I had put everything into it. And then in hindsight, I could see that those failures or that missed opportunity, because I did put my effort into it, gave me lessons, led me to something bigger and broader. So there's no reason to fear. Everything is about choosing to believe and taking that step forward. And you are beautiful. Don't look at social media. Don't let anyone define whether you're beautiful enough, skinny enough, have the right clothes, have the right house, have the right car. You have everything you need. Move forward in faith. Move forward in believing, and watch what happens when you just start serving out of a sense of abundance. And then that abundance in and of itself will be brought right back to you. So just love you. Thank you for the time and listening today. God brought you here for whatever reason. So I hope you picked up something of value today. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, you know where my website is. Hit the contact us button. That goes directly to me, and I'll do everything in my power to brighten your day as well.
Woo! I had to give that one a woo. That was so good. Thank you so much. I feel so honored for you to come on this show and share your message with us, with around the world. And, you know, I just get lit up by this profession as well, which is why I've got our chiropractic retreat coming up. And whether it's that project or another project or whatever else, your message just then resonates, I'm sure, with everyone in any profession. Just have a go. And you are beautiful. You are supposed to be here. So just, you know, give it your best shot. So we'll put all the show notes, your contact details and everything else, of course, mate. For the listeners, once again, tuning in, you guys are legends. Hope you have an awesome day. See ya.
God bless.